Hello and welcome to the Soul Channel introductory video. Uh, Soul channeling is a way for you to talk to your own spirit guides and that of others. And it focuses in on one of the psychic senses called clear hearing or clairaudience. I will be taking you through exercises that will begin to open you, such as the pendulum and spirit board. The purpose of this class is not to teach you how to work with a pendulum and spirit board. It's merely an exercise for you to start to crack open your intuitive hearing abilities. Also, we will continue to open you by showing you how to do automatic writing and guiding you through the process. The third section, you will meet your guides and you will begin to channel. You actually begin to channel, and you will learn your life purpose in that particular segment of the video training. And the last segment, section 4, you will take a journey to the Akashic records in a beautiful, deep, long guided meditation to learn your own past life. And in this particular section, you are now applying your channeling at a deeper and deeper level. So who are spirit guides? This comes in from the Alpha Omega Light beings, which I looked them up because they're a group I work with, and it turns out that they are part of the Great White Brotherhood of Melchizedek, which has to do with the ascension on Earth. And they say that spirit guides are here to help you experience true prosperity, not false prosperity, which is leading from your ego, but living as your soul on earth to complete your path. That's what they consider to be true prosperity. It helps with our spiritual evolution or the spiritual evolution of the whole. When you live as your soul, you will manifest your desires easier, especially if they are soul level desires. And also, spirit guides are here to help you discover your service on earth, what your gifts are, what you've come to earth to do. And these are all the most important uses of a guide. And they can help you on simple things, like, for example, when I first started channeling my guides, I was asking about love, money, basic things. And in one case, I was hung up on somebody who hasn't been there, and they kept encouraging me through the process until I was finally over it with a patience that a human on earth would not have, definitely. They have unending patience. They also can help with loss. Another example of me working with my own guides is when my mother was in hospice. She had lung cancer. We were trying holistic modalities. A little too late, but I still thought I would ask in a session, in a channeling session, if something could still be done for her. I was talking to my master guide, and then in came Serapis Bey, who's an ascended master. And he or it, let's not worry about gender, said that my mother would be passing shortly. And sure enough, within 6 days, 5 days, she passed. And, it was helpful to us as a family to prepare and to know what was going on. And, oh, by the way, I found out later on that Serapis was my mother's master guide, and I didn't know that when I was doing the channeling. They can also help you learn about past lives. I channeled from my sister a past life that was important to this life that she'd had, and they told her that she was a Mayan priestess. A Mayan priestess. And they said, not Mayan, which I thought was really strange, but Maian. And this Mayan spiritual group, if you will, existed in ancient southern Italy, and they lived in the mountains, and she lived in a cave, and she was a priestess, and she healed animals and people with herbs. And when I went to research it later on, I found out indeed this Mayan religion was an aspect of the Gaian religion from Greece, but in Italy it was called Mayan. So indeed it did exist, and I found that to be quite fascinating. So you'll get information as a guide when you're talking to your guides that is quite relevant and amazingly accurate and helpful. Another thing that happened as I was channeling my own guides, I was trying to sell a piece of real estate. Yes, they'll help you with simple things. And it was during a real estate boom in my neighborhood, my area. And the guides came in and they said, "Well, we'll bring you in an expert." And I'm thinking, "Woo, woo, 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 an expert?" I was like, I wasn't used to that. And in came an expert who passed away, who'd lived in this area that I was living in and selling real estate. She was a realtor. She was a realtor. And she said to me, "No, no, you'll be able to get this price for your property." And I thought, whoa, that's so high. I did try for a day or two, but I didn't believe in this process. Even though I'd been doing it for like many years, I still didn't believe. Well, I lowered my price and found out a couple of, maybe 2 months later, my neighbor had asked the price I was told to ask. And the buyer that I was told by this realtor I would get became her buyer. And she sold her property at that exorbitantly high price for cash, and I didn't because I didn't listen. So you would be quite amazed at what you can get when you start to channel and open up your vessel for receiving information. Now, the way I started was basically as a child, I guess that veil between here and the spirit world was not screwed on that tight for me. So as I would slip off to sleep at night, I won't go into all the details, that's in the course, but something would happen and I would all of a sudden start seeing people I didn't know, and my guide would be there. And I'm just distinguishing between the two now because I remember some of the people were scary, but there was another soul that was comfortable to me that I felt familiar with, and that was my guide. And my guide actually rescued me from drowning when I was around 4 years old. Um, During my teen years, I used to love to meditate, and I would go on journeys or trips and get information. So that was another example of channeling. Although all of these incidences, I had no idea I was channeling. I didn't know what was going on. I just was experiencing these things with no idea what it really meant until I had vocal contact, which happened when I was around 30 years old. I had a lot of time on my hands, and I was given a gift of the book the Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn, Shinn. And basically, the book says that if you follow your intuition, you will be more abundant in your life. And so I said, okay, well, let me try this. And so one bright autumn day in New York, I decided to do whatever I felt like doing in the moment. And I'm going to fast forward on the story because, again, that's in more detail in the course. But I met a reader who told me to ask for my guides to come through, and they came through right away. It was frightening. I mean, all of a sudden, my head was thrown back, and this voice started booming out of me. But they made sense. They were telling me things that were going on that happened, and I was always, whoa. And then I even had an experience of going into full, complete trance when I was channeling the guide of the person who opened all of this up for me. That in and of itself was an amazing experience. I had no idea what I was getting into, but this guide came through, and this is how it feels to channel. Okay, when I first started, it used to feel like an energy would literally swoop down on me and take over my body. And my vocal cords would be utilized. I wasn't using them. A different voice would come through, sometimes with different accents and unique mannerisms. I was truly doing what a trance medium does, except I was not in full trance when I was at home alone doing it. But I once went to visit the friend who introduced me to the reader who opened me up this way, and he said, "Would you bring in my guide?" And I innocently said, "Okay." And within 30 milliseconds, this huge energy came whoop down on me, and I didn't usually feel that kind of energy. It was so encompassing that I just disappeared. I just saw the room from a little speck in my eyes, and I was aware of the fact that my body was being used to talk. Okay, all this stuff was coming through. And my friend had a complete conversation with an entity that I was hosting in my body. And then when it was done, whoop, the energy left, and I was allowed to come back. And I was like, "Ooh, who's that and what's that?" And he told me very little. I'll always wonder who I was speaking to because for some reason he didn't want to tell me. Nowadays, when I channel, I don't get all that dramatic stuff anymore. It's become so much a part of me that I just simply feel a little shift in energy. I know it's not me because the information that comes through is something I would not have access to. I would not know. Okay. It's always unique. It's always high level. It's always love inspired. When I'm working with clients, it's unbelievably accurate. I just basically learn to step aside, and that's what you learn in the class, is how to step aside so that information can come to you that will be extremely empowering of you. And I usually ask the questions in a silent, telepathic way. I usually hear them in my head, the answers, and sometimes I can vocally channel them, depending on how I want to work. Well, usually when I'm working with a client, I'm vocally channeling them. And there's a slight change in the way the energy feels, depending on who it is I'm bringing through. And I use channeling as one of my primary mechanisms, primary tools, I guess you'd call it, for mediumship. You know, every medium is different, and since I'm a natural vocal channel, I guess it's mediumship, really, basically. When I work as a medium, I channel the voice of the soul from who's transitioned. They actually use my vocal cords, and I will get a lot of things about them, their accents, what they looked like, some of their mannerisms, and so on and so forth will come through. So that's what, once you learn to channel, it can be embedded in many other ways of working, or it can be a standalone tool that you have and never use it for anything else. Some great examples of channeling are Esther Hicks, and the soul group called Abraham on abundance. There's also Ramtha. That's another group that comes through. During the 80s, it was Seth. Seth Speaks. So there's a myriad of different examples of great information that can come through from soul groups in the spirit world. And once you learn how to channel, you can channel mostly anything because it's basically telepathy. It's consciousness to consciousness. You could channel an angel, for example, and you could channel an extraterrestrial. You could channel an animal. Okay, you could channel a lot of different souls and beings. It's basically gaining access to another intelligence and allowing that intelligence to speak through you in a very fluid, literal, and auditory way. And these are the basic steps to use, and I use when I work. This will be a thread through all of the uh, Soul Psychic Healer classes that you'll be taking with me. And the steps are LOVE, which spells love. Okay? And in the Soul Abundance class, or Soul Purpose Magic class, Soul Purpose Magic, LOVE are defined slightly differently, but once you learn about this, you'll understand they're really not that different in some respects. But in a psychic way, from channeling to the psychic class to the mediumship class, each of those is going to be very similar. And it is the following. L is letting go and meditation. Now, in the case of me, when I was opening, I just simply was living a very quiet life at that time. I was laid off from a job I had, and I was on unemployment, so I had a lot of time on my hands to be quiet and still. The O of the word love stands for open by asking. And what I had done in the story I just gave you is ran home after the reader said my guides were trying to come through, and I asked for them to come through. I just simply said, come through. I didn't do a vibration alignment back then, but I added that into the steps, okay, as another way to heighten the connection or make it real for yourself. Back then, I just started channeling. And the E of the word love was entirely receive what comes through. Now, if you're trying to read for yourself, sometimes you're going to, or even for others, quite often our ego gets in the way and we try to edit or censor. But the more simple you are, the simpler you are in doing this, more childlike you are, the more you're going to get. So keep that in mind. Psychic work, channeling, psychic, mediumship work, even living intuitively, which is what soul abundance is all about, it's not an analytical skill. It's an intuitive skill. It's a feeling skill. It's a creative skill. And so, therefore, analytical, intellectual, interpretive mind should be left at the door when we do this. And by the way, the more you develop this, the more you gain access to full use of your brain, not just 2%, and not just left hemisphere. You'll open up your right hemisphere and you'll start to integrate the segments of your brain so that you have more total brain use, which will empower you and give you more success in life. So we're going to do a little bit of this right now. We're going to start to do a little bit of automatic writing. Okay? So what I need you to do is make sure that you have 10 to 15 minutes of quiet, uninterrupted time. Actually, 30 would probably be better, but 10 to 15 at the least. And get yourself a pen and a pad ready. And I'd like you to find yourself a nice meditation. Okay, you can go to YouTube and you can search for something that has to do with opening the third eye. And I'd like you to then start to listen to that and allow yourself to let go in meditation for a few moments. I like to do 15 minutes minimum, but you could do 5 to 10. And then after you're done doing that, I'd like you to open by asking in this little simple prayer, Dear Spirit Guides, come to me now in love and light. And please, when we're done, disengage us energetically. I don't have that there, but that is something that you should ask for. Always remember to disengage energetically after engaging energetically. And now we're going to allow you to vibrationally align. And so if you would imagine in front of you an angelic type of being, imagine that your energies are blending with that being's energy. Okay. You probably will feel a click or something like that. That's what I usually feel, although if you don't, that's okay. Just do it. You will then be connected uh, to to your guides. And then we're going to now entirely receive, and this is the process. Now that you've gone through LOV steps, put out your piece of paper, your journal, and start to just write a little bit about your life. What's going on in your life right now? Good, the bad, the ugly. And this should be done on a daily basis. When you're done just writing a little bit about what's happening now, then I want you to go to a new piece of paper and ask your guides for advice. Okay, like let's say you're really upset about what somebody said to you at work yesterday. So you ask your guides, well, what should I do about this? Should I confront this person or should I just run scared or should I just ignore it? What have you? And see what comes through. It should feel like it's coming from outside yourself. It should feel automatic. Like, whoop, it's just coming in. So go ahead and try that. Now, if you're not getting answers instantly, that's okay. If you kept doing this on a regular basis, eventually you should open. Okay? If you want to open faster and if you want to open with more of a deliberate steps or speed up the process and more deliberate steps that help you open, then the Soul Channel class, video training class is for you. Okay? And the way that you get that class is to go to Spirit Medium Coach, COACH.com. And there you'll see towards the bottom of the page a way to order that class. You can always order additional time to work with me as well as a coach with you. And what you'll get in the class is you will develop your ability to hear spirit. That's what it focuses on. You'll be cracked open by using a homemade pendulum and spirit board. Won't cost you anything. Got a really neat way to do that. We'll focus on automatic writing. Everything has warm-up exercises and the actual exercises. You'll be channeling to meet your spirit guides and learn your life purpose with a beautiful, long, guided meditation that you can play over and over and over again. Because each time you do it, you're going to go farther. You're going to get more. And then there'll be a very long and beautiful channeled meditation on you going to the Akasha. That's the repository of all information, otherwise known as the collective unconscious. And there you will learn about your past life. Again, you can play these over and over and over again, because each time you do it, you'll be developing yourself a little bit further. You see, when you go to a class, it's a one-shot deal. Okay, a live class. You don't have the benefit of replaying it over and over again, and you'll get what you get in the class. And the classes, live classes, have their advantages. And video training has its advantage. The advantage here is that you can do this as often as you need, as much as you want, so that you slowly unpeel the layers of the onion until finally you've opened yourself to being a full-blown auditory vocal channeler to help yourself and also help others in their lives. And I have found that channeling has been an excellent foundation for everything else I've done psychically. Other classes on spiritmediumcoach.com include Soul Abundance, or otherwise known as Soul Purpose Magic, which allows you to awaken the magic of your soul's purpose on earth, and that focuses in on clear feeling. Soul Psychic, which is a fascinating class. It's very advanced, although I lead you through, but I highly recommend you do the channeling class before you go to the Soul Psychic class. And that focuses in on clear seeing, and you will learn how to read auras, you will learn how to read chakras and heal from them, you'll learn how to do remote viewing, medical intuition, and also remote influence, which is a way to affect the healing in another person. And last but not least is the Soul Medium class, which is a great class for you to learn how to become a medium and connect with the souls of those who have transitioned. And I think I said that you could hire me as a coach. If I didn't, I'm just going to add that in. I offer one-on-one coaching in complement to the class. And also I will offer you suggestions on how you can find people to work with. But the best people are those you know already. So don't worry about that. There's always somebody who wants a free reading. You could just go up on one of the social medias and say, I need to work with somebody. You'll get more people than you ever imagined. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side of this in the Soul Channel training video course. Thank you so much for listening.